Howdy y'all, Fuzzy Biker up here at Lust Hills Harley-Davidson in southwest Iowa, and look what they have laid out for us today. This is a beautiful white sand pearl Harley-Davidson Freewheeler with an amazing 114 cubic inch engine. And we are going to go take that hot rod for a ride. Wahoo! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The sound of thunder. I love it. Can y'all hear that? 114 cubic inches, 1,868 cubic centimeters. I think this is rated at 90 horsepower with 122 foot-pounds of torque. That's about 165 newton meters. Let's go for a ride. The Milwaukee 8 is a 45-degree V-twin, 2 plugs per cylinder, oil-cooled heads, air-cooled cylinders, 6-speed transmission, absolutely amazing transmission. I love the transmissions on these things. I'm not used to a trike, so we're just going to do our best here. I love it. I love it. Look at that. Handles like a dream. A little bit of arm work here, but par for the course with this thing. I love it. Let's see what we can do here. This is going to be a challenge, my friends. Yeah, a little tight for that one. Beautiful, beautiful. Amazing. I love the sound, of course. You know, these are stock pipes, and the sound is amazing. Of course, the first thing you should always do in a Harley is get some good aftermarket pipes. If you're in the market for a new or used Harley-Davidson, get yourself down here to Lust Hills Harley-Davidson or check out their website, lusthillshd.com. These guys can help you out. Wahoo! This beautiful bike has running boards. I absolutely love that. But let's talk about the seating position. I'm sitting about straight up and down. I like that. Very upright sitting. The bars are reaching to me. I have my hands out, but they're, you know, the bars are reaching more to me than otherwise. My hips and my knees might be a little higher than my hips, and because I have running boards, I can put my feet anywhere I want, but my heels are definitely ahead of my knees. Very nice. This would be a great bike for a long ride. My gosh, does it sound good. I think they tuned this 114 a little more for torque compared to the standard 114. It has a little less horsepower, a little more torque, and its torque comes in a lot lower. I think 2750 is full torque on this hot rod. At 60 miles an hour, we're turning about 2,500 RPM. Pretty darn good. As far as comfort on the 4-lane goes, this thing's a dream. I like it. Again, this is another one of those Harleys that you could just drive, you know, LA to Boston in 3 days and live life well on it. And this thing has plenty of trunk room for something like that. I love that 6-shooter transmission. And of course, I love the sound. Look at this. It just turns like a dream. Once you start getting used to the handling, it's phenomenal. Loads of power, loads of power. I like it. Oh, there's a gear indicator down here, by the way, right down there. An interesting handling motorcycle. You get the wind in your face, but it does not handle like a normal bike. A lot of arm work versus leaning. I would love to put 100 miles on one of these. I'd love to put a couple 100 miles on one of these. It is a joy to drive. I think once you got used to how the bike handled, you could really tear it up with these things. I've got some friends that have got trikes, and they can really make them move. I like the way this feels. Very secure, very secure. And that sound is just amazing on here. I love this whole front end here, this Road King looking front end. I wonder if you can get a Road King fairing on this. That would really do you some good on the long rides. And the sound is amazing. No one behind us. Now check this out. Nice tight turning. Check that out, huh? And all kinds of torque. 122 foot-pounds of torque. Just powers right up. Very good. Very good. I love the feel. I really love the way this thing feels. This is a sports machine. You know, I've driven the Tri-Glides and I love the way those handle, but this is really something else. The M8 is a real powerhouse, something I really enjoy riding. The torque is endless on these things. It's got dual disc brakes on the front and 2 discs on the back, but let's give those a shot. Whoa, That is a quick stopping bike. And look at that, picks right back up. The torque is phenomenal. The torque is phenomenal. The brakes on the front are Brimbos, 4-piston calipers per side. I love the way this thing handles. I just love the way this thing handles. This is a really fun machine. I just like this a lot. And look at this. Look at this. We'll just spin right around in a circle right here. Very tight turning. I think the wheelbase is 65.7 inches. That's about 1,670 millimeters. This is a powerhouse. It's a real torque monster. Like I said, they have tuned this thing for torque, I believe. Well, let's see what can we do here. Very nice indeed. I like it. What an insane powerhouse. They have really done it right with this engine. And the transmission is phenomenal, of course. I love the way this thing handles. I just really enjoy it. It just jumps. Truly a beautiful machine. So up here we've got an information button to run the little LCD down here. We've got a traction control button. You can turn that on and off. Horn. High lows with a flash to pass button, left blinker, and a real cruise control. Push it in to turn it on, down to set it, up to reset. Hazard lights, on-off button over here, start button and reverse button over here, and then a right turn signal. Fuel gauge is over here. What a machine. And she has an absolutely beautiful sound. If you're in the market for a new or used Harley-Davidson, get yourself down here to Lus Hills Harley-Davidson, lushillshd.com. They can help you out. They've got about 200 bikes on site, including a whole mess of used ones in this back area here called the toy box. All right, let's turn this camera off and turn on another one. What a beautiful day for a beautiful ride on a wonderful motorcycle. Check this hot rod out. The first thing I want to point out to y'all is the wheels. This looks like a much larger wheel on the back than before, and I got to looking. It is a 18 on the rear. I think they used to be 15s or 16s. I like the look. I really like the look. Looks like a lower profile tire with a larger rim. You can see the disc much easier. I'm looking at the caliper. I think it's a 2-piston caliper. Coming up to the front, we've got a 19-inch tire. I think it's a 130/60/19 on the front. Beautiful dual disc. I think these are Brembo calipers, and I'm guessing because I couldn't find a number, 300 millimeter full floating disc on the front. They were phenomenal. I loved it. I loved it. What a gorgeous machine. Absolutely gorgeous machine. Just let that soak in. Look at that exhaust in the back. The white sand pearl with the black trim is just a gorgeous combination. What a bike. I'm absolutely impressed with this whole thing. And look at that front end. Looks like it's right off a Road King, maybe. Just gorgeous. I wonder if you can get a windshield. It looks like you can. This thing would benefit from that on long rides, in particular rainy days. Let's talk about the engine. It's got the 114 cubic inch Milwaukee 8. That's 1,868 cubic centimeters. The Milwaukee 8, they call it Milwaukee 8, M for Milwaukee, M8. It's got a 4-valve head, so 8 valves total, hence the 8. The heads are oil cooled. Here's an oil cooler down here, air cooled right here. And then of course the bottom end's oil cooled. Then here's a 6-shooter transmission, but look at that, the whole thing is blacked out. Just a gorgeous thing, except for of course the rocker boxes, the push rod covers, and then the milled heads. Now this one has, this is chrome also, and I don't know if I've seen that before. I like that though, I like that a lot. And by the way, while we're here, look at this new emblem. I don't know if I've seen that before. I really like that, the gold stripe, the pearl paint, you know, look at that, that's just gorgeous. Big V right there, gorgeous. This is a belt drive machine, and we'll talk about the transmission over here. I just love the 6-shooter transmission. The Harley transmissions are awesome, and they work so well with, you know, the transmission, the clutch, and the lever feel, and of course these beautiful levers. I think that's one of the things they really get right on these bikes, among other things. Just very well done. This is supposed to put out about 90 horsepower, which is a little less than normal, but 122 foot-pounds of torque. That's about 165 Newton meters. And that's all supposed to, that full torque is supposed to come in at 2750 RPM. And when I was riding this, it felt like a torque monster. It just jumped every time you turn that throttle, no matter what gear. It just really was very responsive. If you haven't ridden one of these, you really should. I think this is a sports machine. You know, this is a real sport rider's bike. I would love to put a couple hundred miles on one of these through the Lus Hills. This would just be an incredibly fun machine to have. These forks on the front are Showa forks. They're 49 millimeter. They're covered as they should be. They're dual bending valve. The handling is superb on this. The amount of travel on the front is 4.6 inches. That's about 117 millimeters, I believe. On the rear, she's got shocks. Travel on those is about 3 inches. And that's about that's about 76 millimeters. And those tires, by the way, are 205 45 18s. Look at that tread. And by the way, I've been told, I have heard, you can spin those tires. You think you can? I'm betting you can. Shut the old traction control off. And by the way, here's your Les Hills Harley-Davidson phone number, leshillshd.com. Give those guys a call if you're interested in something like this. What an absolutely gorgeous bike. I just love the whole package. As far as looks goes, I think this really wins the show. Seat height on this bike is 27.6 inches. That's about 700 millimeters. If you can get on this, which it's very easy to get on, once you're going, you don't have to worry about holding the bike up. You know, it's got these extra tires on the back, so it's one of the beauties of this machine. It's very stable. I think it's an excellent machine for touring. You know, if I were going to tour with this one, I would get the, and it's got a giant trunk in the back, I would get the little rack that goes here, and it'd also get a bar for the back, the passenger. It's just very well done, very well done. And a fairing, I'd get at least a Road King fairing on it. Wheelbase 65.7 inches, that's 1669 millimeters. Ground clearance is 4.9 inches, that's 124 millimeters. Fuel tank, 6 gallons. I love anything with more than 5 gallons, and 6 gallons is just a bonus. And this is supposed to get mileage in the 40s. That's 22.7 liters, by the way, of fuel. Now the number you're all wondering about, and I don't think it's as crucial on a bike like this, but the number you're all wondering about, what does this thing weigh? Well, wet weight, full fuel, all fluids, ready to go, 1,110 pounds. That's about 503 kilograms. Now I was just rip roaring through the hills, through the Les Hills over yonder, and I will tell you that it just does not feel like it has that kind of weight. It's an absolutely amazing machine, and you really need to get down here to Les Hills and take one of these for a spin. If you have any interest in this kind of a thing at all, it's just a phenomenal bike. I think the Tri-Glide is the absolute luxury touring model. I think this is the sports bike. You know, this is the real handler of the two. I love them both, but this is a real beauty. You know, this has electronic stabilization products. You know, it's got the 6-way IMU or ISU or whatever that thing's called. It senses how the bike is leaning and tipping and feeling, and you know, the yaw and all that neat stuff, and it adjusts the brakes and the throttle and all that stuff to help you keep the thing under control. It definitely has ABS brakes. Brakes are phenomenal on this thing. Before we look at the top, let's take a look at the trunk. If I can get this open with one hand. Now look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, it's lined. Got all kinds of goodies in there. Think how usable that would be. Throw your jacket back in there, throw your stuff in there, you know, take a trip, whatever. Just gorgeous. Gorgeous work on their part. And of course I love the rear end. I just love the way these look. Look at that whole thing. Look at that. Just eat that up. This looks so old school, but yet it's such a modern machine. And the seat was absolutely comfortable, by the way. Harley seats are always comfortable. I just love them. Just a gorgeous machine. A beautiful Harley-Davidson. Look at that. All the little details are there. And of course, the wonderful mirrors. Harleys have the best mirrors. What do y'all think of this thing? Put in the comments below. I'd like to hear. Have you been to Les Hills Harley-Davidson? It's a good place to visit. Get yourself down here. They are at the intersection of Interstate 29 and Exit 35 down here in Southwest Iowa. There's the beautiful Les Hills. Of course, this is their shop right here. Get yourself down here and check out what they got, including this hot rod motorcycle. They're waiting for you. And hey, I'm Fuzzy Biker. It's a beautiful day, and I'm going to go for a motorcycle ride. Y'all do the same if you can. Life is good. Wahoo!